What's going on, everyone? Dragon here, and today we're going to be doing some more Balloons Tower Defense Battles Salt. Let's cut right into it to our first opponent. So we have our first opponent here today. We have yo boy Alex. This was the White Wasteland arena, and this was a Bonanza game mode. So it was pretty good for a start. They start with Boomer, and I was like, okay, are you gonna do farm? Nope, it's Balloon Eco. Okay, so that was kind of like give me a little mini red flags, like, okay, there's got to be some cheese going on here. But at the time, I was just like, okay, well, they're probably just like some innocent player. They were only a single silver dart for global for their badge. And that was about it. Like, they had like a couple bronze, but that was about it. But I sent pinks earlier, by the way, just to check to see what the priority was. It's actually still on first. It's just I didn't really want to waste too much money trying to see if I can't force something or get those like cheap lives off just to, you know, do damage early. Like, it's just not worth it. So anyways, I basically farm right here. They get eco or camo really early, like really early, and I was just like, why are you over defending, dude? Like, it's round 7. Unless you think I have, like, say, Cobras, which is impossible, by the way, because 99% of these Bonanza matches don't have Cobras in them. I've only ever had one time where there was a Bonanza match and it had Cobra, and they still lost. So yeah, they say sorry, and that was only because they sort of forced a glue storm, but I just really didn't want, like, say, you know, assaulted wounds to happen. I also just realized they have better soil, but no farm. So they had a useless power this entire time. And their fourth is Dartling. Just like how my fourth was NG. So they were either hoping for farm for their fourth or something. Right here I was trying to force something, but instead they just pull a laser cannon out of their ass. Like, literally right out of their ass. And I was just like, okay. Like, I was kind of low-key salty, and because, I mean, I wasn't really anticipating, you know, Dartling of all towers. Like, I was actually anticipating Farm, Village, Boomer, and Super, okay? They just were really late to farming, because I have seen that where they, like, farmed at, like, it was, like, the latest I've ever seen someone place down a farm after forcing stuff was, like, round 7, round 8, and then there was actually at one point they started farming at, like, round 23. And it's just like, excuse me? Excuse me. So I get up at Temple. I have my Monkey Village so that I can get a little bit of eco. I'm about probably 25% less eco than them for, like, actual balloon eco wise, but I catch up pretty fast, don't worry. So I have a temple up and working on my second temple. Right here they turbocharged ceramics, and just as I realized, wait a minute, they don't have any MOA protection, they start setting up spike factories, and I show off DA. They get 2 Dartlings, and they have one that's a Ray of Doom, and 2 spiked mines, which sort of work. I mean, the balloons still got pretty far compared to, like, say, Moab Shredder. Right here is when they start showing their true colors, that they were actually toxic, rather than that innocent player persona. So from here they start spamming the map, or at least the front of the map, with spike factories. And this was choke number 1. Instead of having Moab Shredder, Spike Storm, they chose Spiked Mines, which does significantly less damage to Moabs. And you also don't get Spike Storm to save your ass, to, you know, micro. Their second choke was that they're trying to rely on abilities after the fact that the opponent revealed DA. Okay, which shuts down their entire gimmick, by the way, like 1000%, if you time it just right. Okay, and number 3, all it takes is a really good Zoma God Rush, no matter what round it is, to really get those mines popped before they start reapplying and stacking the mines back up. There's sort of a bell curve to how many specs can be on that track too, by the way. And, yeah. But anyways, they start setting up the call to arms over Monkey Beacon, the other side of the village upgrade to, you know, have reduced cooldown on abilities, because, you know, why have a cooldown on abilities when you can just brag and try to think that you can just micro with Spike Storm? So anyways, I was like, okay, well, you had Dartlings, so where's the Dartlings? And then, you know, just as I say that, bam, here comes some Dartlings. And, yeah, they start getting up Dartlings, get the Rays of Doom, because Ray of Doom is definitely better than the missiles. It's actually, recommended to have a mixture of both, by the way, because the BADs, each rocket does its own separate damage, and it's also really good against group, whereas Ray of Doom is just one constant, infinite pop power source, okay, where the hitbox is actually bigger than the beam. But their biggest mistake is that, look at their eco, and look at them trying to set up for Rays of Doom. Yeah. And this is why you don't max eco. Or just banana farm from the start, really. But, you know. Don't worry, it comes crashing down for them quite soon. But anyways, they continue to max eco rather than, you know, setting up more Rays of Doom. And they don't really leave any room to micro with Spike Storm, by the way. So even if they did micro, yeah, they really don't have enough micro. I think Spike Storm's just there for cleanup, really, but yeah. But anyways, I have a pretty good strong defense going. I have at least 4 temples that are technically maxed out. I say technically because the temples are nerfed. I see a lot of people spend a lot more than what they need to. You only need 1 tower maxed up to the side. Whatever side is more upgraded will give you more pop power. Like, they made that kind of change for battles to make them fast-paced. So it's kind of a waste having, like, just this big pile of towers. Okay, and it wastes money and room. So anyways, I get my, what is it, 5th temple and a few more TTs. And from here, I kind of sell the pre-existing village at the bottom of where my BIAs are. And I kind of need those BIAs at the bottom, otherwise I have 0 eco. Because this map really isn't designed for farming, it's more designed for balloon eco, but then again, I mean, nobody really chooses this map anyways for eco, so I thought it'd be something different. But anyways, I guess the other thing that I probably should have mentioned is that they wanted this map skipped, but they couldn't skip it because they already used their skip. So I wanted to try something different, and this was, I guess, their way of trying to punish me for not skipping it, is by using a Spike Factory trolling system. Right here, they start sending me so my gods. It's a really pathetic rush, to be honest, because, look, I can just Big Balloon Buster, and there goes the so my gods that they just rushed with. Like, literally, that's all it took, was just TTs. If they had DAA or Power Lock, then, I mean, it would have been a little bit, they would have progressed a little bit further, but not a whole lot. If it was like, say, Cripple or Tower Blindness, then they probably could have leaked, but, I mean, it would have been really close. Because Tower Blindness and or Cripple is actually pretty good on this map, because of all the bends and poor placements that you can set up. So right here is when I start rushing again, and the Moabs that's at the bottom there, I really get them to struggle, because just as a DA, before they could Spike Storm, that BFB popped down to Moabs, and I'm going to assume, or at least chalk that up to the Dartling glitch, because it looked like as if there's balloons that, like, you know, leaked through, but the Dartling glitch is basically, it will look like it's not popped, but it is. So right here, they tossed me a Sia because they're salty. They lost to their cheese strategy, which is using Boomerang and Dartling mostly, and Spike Factory to clean up. I mean, their Spike Factory really doesn't do much anyways. And they try to do a Big Boom beatdown. They have 0 eco. They have a useless power. They send a Shock Face just to show, like, I guess it's just to show, like, how did I get this much money or something, or just the fact that defenses that I had was able to stop, like, what, 10 Zoma Gods? Like, that got instant popped with Big Boom Buster and TTs. They rage left after that. I can't really, you know, say it and be like, oh yeah, sure they did. Like, I can't really validate it because it's Battles TV, and I can't really do live commentary when I record these or do these because it's kind of hard to do so for now. But anyways, that will be it for this match, and I'll show you guys the next opponent right now. Okay, so here's our next opponent. I'm going to keep this on normal speed just to show you guys how quick this match goes. So this was a Bonanza match in indoor pools in Lead Dungeon, and this person was a Gold Silver Prestige, by the way. Same skill rank as me, or at least according to the badge system. But badges don't mean skill. Knowledge is what determines skill. So I chose NG for this map because NG is actually really good for maps like this, and it also works even better for shallow rivers. Now keep in mind, we kind of had this map given to us because we used both our skips, and this is what we got. And I mean, I was kind of upset, and I was really expecting pretty much anything, and this really isn't a farming map, but my opponent's just like, sure it is. And they started farming, and I was just like, you gotta be kidding me. How could you be that greedy to farm when your opponent is sending you constant balloon eco, and your sub is, like, you know, trying its best, and the wizard's trying its best, but you're still leaking lives? I also have Tower Blindness, just on the off chance that they have a cheese, I can come up with my own cheese, but instead, they just come with their Boost Glue Storm and Dual Eco Boost, the classic combination. As well as a pretty good core for tower setup. It's just they really weren't expecting cheese. And the cheese does come through, so I'm going to speed this up just a little bit. Keep in mind, my opponent never sent me anything. They never forced anything, by the way. And I'm doing perfectly fine. I only added the extra NGs just in case. I sent my first Tower Blindness, forced a Glue Storm, and yeah. From there, the sub and wizard started chasing, so they set up another sub, and I was like, okay, well, camo is going to be a real problem for them because reactor isn't going to pop that middle tower, and if it does, I got Tower Blindness, and Tower Blindness will not be able to see anything because they may be able to see, like, say here, but with Tower Blindness, they will be only to see wherever that little hatch is for their missiles. That's about as big as you'll be able to see their actual radius with Tower Blindness. So they do what a classic 0 badge player does, put their tower, like, right at the start, hoping that that will pop everything. Meanwhile, I also have some NGs that have Balloon Trap ready, just in case that they send something. I really wasn't anticipating them to send something. I had Tower Blindness, they Glue Stormed, and it still wasn't enough, and they dropped. Like, my opponent could have sent anything at any time, and my opponent chose to greed. They chose to greed, and they lost. They sent out more farms. They could have done a reactor. Like, they could have sold that, put down another sub, and have a reactor. Okay, after the fact that I tower blinded. Okay, that would have been able to see. Then have a tornado wizard, but that would have caused regen, so you would have probably had to sell some farms and put up some dragon flame wizards or phoenix and glue stormed, and that would have definitely helped. Like, that would have helped a lot better. I mean, at least that's what I would have done in that sort of situation. I mean, then again, you really don't anticipate tower blindness because tower blindness is one of those powers, especially with well, I wouldn't say eco choke because eco choke is actually pretty commonly used, believe it or not. It's just in the arenas that I play, it's really uncommon. But yeah, tower blindness is one of those powers that nobody really uses, not even in the higher arenas, at least not from what I've seen. I've never really seen them use tower blindness. I don't know. Leave your comments, see what Seba you see the most in arenas that you've played. Anyways, with that, let's move on to our next opponent. Okay, speaking of broken Sebos, how about we have broken card battles? So, I come in with my classic strategy, which is Eco Choke plus tax, because card battles are balanced. So I do attacks. By the way, this opponent, they demanded late game. So, you know the old saying, demand late game, have 0 camo detection. And at that point, I kind of manipulate to have it true, but, I mean, it's card battles. It's kind of prerequisite what you get. So, my opponent uses a lightning bolt, and I think that's like their only lightning bolt that they ever really use, now that I think about it. Yet to set up anything. And then, after 2 more eco rounds, and use the lightning bolt, just after I eco choke again, so they have to wait a little bit longer for that tower that they wanted, and that tower that they went for is a Dragon Flame Wizard. Yep, a Dragon Flame Wizard this entire time. And it's actually quite sad because my opponent, they gotten pretty expensive towers to start, and what I would have done is, you know, use the trash can that, you know, deletes the card, puts it back in your deck, and shuffles it, so that way you can get something better. Right here, I pop a Salted Wounds because Eco Choke and Salted Wounds is actually a pretty common core strategy. But, you know, instead they get a Monkey Pirate thinking that's going to do something instead, so who knows. So, from here, my opponent gets up a Destroyer. Notice how it doesn't have camo, and the reason how I can tell is because you see this little bar right here on the Destroyer? Okay, if it spins, it has camo detection. If it doesn't spin, it doesn't have camo detection. Remember that. So I'm going to speed this up just a little bit, because it's getting a little slow paced for my tastes. So I start setting up more farms, and I get up a lot of farms, and then my opponent's like, Republic. And I was like, no thanks. So I kidnap the Republic. So now, I mean, they'll have the eco boost. The thing about kidnap, by the way, is that it basically is like forced sell. So when you kidnap a tower, it's as if you sold it, okay? But you sold it against your wills in a way. So right here, I send camo pinks, the Destroyer can't see it, then they pop a village, and I'm like, oh, well, isn't this interesting? So they pop a village, now the village has camo, now the village provides camo detection for the Destroyer. But here's the thing, they can't see leads. I don't know why I didn't send leads. But anyway, I send ceramics, and I pop a Salted just in the nick of time. They get an Apache and down to 6 lives. Excuse me, I'm sorry. That's unprofessional of me. But anyways, I blame the 2-liter of Big Red that I'm drinking. But anyways, they pop down a Apache at the nick of time, and I'm like, perfect. Now, I could have sent a camo lead. I don't know why I didn't. I think it was more so because I was focused on the fact that they didn't have camo detection, really. I think that was what my real focus was. Even though they could have done camo lead detection at any time. But, I mean, don't worry, they do have camo lead detection. It's just, you know, they pop it at the very end here, which is right here. They're Sabo. And, yep, that's the Salt right there. So, it's kind of what happens when you demand late game. Yeah, you kind of get clapped because, like, I mean, I don't really do late game very well with card games because 1, card games is RNG, and 2, it's Lead Dungeon Bonanza. So the skill level cap for Lead Dungeon is that you're probably to be expecting power cards to be used. Like pretty much anything after Yellow Stadium, expect power cards. Literally, that's all it really is. White Wastelands and beyond, expect power cards. Like, you're gonna see a lot of kidnap. I even made a video about it called Kidnap Abuse, where basically my opponent kept trying to kidnap, and they lost because, you know, they rather kidnapped rather than having a defense. But, yeah, that will do it for now. I'll see you guys in the next opponent. Excuse me. Yes. Here's our next opponent, Top Ace 8123. This is a best of 3 match. That's right, there's not 1, 2, there's 3 matches that I'll be showing with this person. So this person, they started out pretty simple. They had a ninja, and I was like, okay, they're gonna banana farm because I have the ninja. So I'm gonna start sending and forcing stuff, and just as they start to struggle, I'm gonna use price gouge because that was a recent meme I had. Is price gouging to, you know, force stuff. Right here they send Space Blues. Unsure why, because Space Blues is an inefficient ecoing. That Infestor Engineering by itself can really pop space stuff like this. Right here, I price gouge just so that way they can't do double shot. Because now double shot costs not $7.50, I believe it's like almost about the same cost as a base banana farm, and even then they can't banana farm. Right here they boost, and they're losing a lot of lives because of this price gouge. Like, this gouge really gouged into their lives. Right here they attack a final time. They get a wizard in the oh god help me spot because they put it at the end of the track where it's just going to cause them problems down the road. Now, I'm really unsure whether or not my opponent knew this, but I price gouge once again because they sold their ninja to get a farm, by the way, and I send space black balloons because that's a wizard's weakness, because it'll pop into 2 pinks and they can't handle the 2 pinks. And it's just like regen whites, they also have a struggle to that because they regen back into whites and it causes problems. So from here they pop another boost, and I send even more regen whites because once again they're struggling and they're chasing the balloons, and then they fall flat because they wanted to get that farm, they couldn't, then they struggle to even survive because price gouge is just, it's really hard. Now I should mention that this best of 3 matches was in free power-ups, not bonanza. Remember that, free power-ups. So this was a best of 3, so let's move on to our next rematch. So now next rematch is like, ha ha ha, I know your gimmick, so good luck next time. Well, I come in with the next gimmick. By the way, they do demand late game, so I'm like, okay, I can go late game. And I'm really wanting it to go late game, but instead of farming, they put down a tower first. Like, why? So I eco choke anyways, just, you know, so that way they can't really start up a farm. I set up a farm and set up NG because I'm going NFE and get wizard for my 4th because my version of NFE that I've been doing is actually farm NG wizard, because wizard actually pops lead compared to ninja, where you kind of have to pay a lot of money just to get camo lead detection, whereas wizard you can just do a 0-2 and you're fine. But you don't get that fast pop power like space camo pinks. But anyways, they struggle to these pinks. Struggle. Like, they immediately boost. They boost a little too early, but they struggle big time. And I facepalm here, like, what is you doing? And then they pop down cobras, and it's just like, really? Cobras? And so I eco choke once again. They get really salty now. Like, they are beyond salty because they lost a lot of lives. They never once tried to upgrade their boomer. They never popped down a wizard. And so now they're gonna send constant space pinks. And I'm just like, really? I have NG. And then they pop a DA and I'm like, what abilities am I going to not use? NG doesn't have an ability. Well, it has overclock, but I mean, it's round 6 and free power-ups. And I'm like, see ya, because Space Greens kills them. And yeah, I was actually quite a little bit toxic here because I was flexing, because I really hated the fact that they used Cobra, but at the same time I was laughing because they were so mad their last match that they had to use Cobra in this match. But then looking at Battle TV, I realized they had Cobra for their 4th. They had Cobra for their 4th, and they took that opportunity to use Cobra. So I'll only give them half slack for this, for having a Cobra, but this next match is unexcusable for me. And here comes the 3rd match for Top Ace. Okay, so here's the 3rd match for Top Ace. And I'm like, okay, well, I know your Cobra cheese strategy, so why don't I go the classic of classic cheese strategies that Cobra users do. And if my opponent was actually smart, they would have rushed me at a very specific point, but they never did. Instead, they wanted to flex. And this is, once again, like I said, from the very first match of what I meant by trends in various arenas. Besides the greedy lightning bolt players, the oh god help me players where they put towers or spikes like just after the fact that they've been rushed or something. Okay, and then you'll get the people that will try to use Dartling and thinking, oh, well, I'm set for life, when in actuality, Dartling can't save you when it's round 40, sweetie. Sorry. It just doesn't happen. So right here, I do basically what every Cobra strategy revolves around. It's Tack Mortar, by the way, but they use Cobra as the main popping power. And here's a little advanced tip. If you're actually going to go a Cobra strategy, okay, if you're going to actually go a Cobra strategy, just make sure it's a 0-1 Cobra, and you put those little guys on strong. That will maximize their pop power, okay? A lot of people will put them on first, and then they start to chase. But if you put them on strong, they're like a 1-1 sniper. And you put more of them there, then you're fine. So right here, they start laughing and flexing at the fact that they have camo detection. But, sorry sweetie, but that's only the beginning, because it gets worse, and it gets worse, and then you get overwhelmed. So, they've already wasted all their spikes on the previous rushes I've sent, which is mostly the Space Pinks and Spaced Eco. From here, they have a 2-2 Dartling. Right here, I get very, very weak camo detection, by the way. Very weak camo detection. And their only real popping power, by the way, is that 2-2 Dartling. Those Dart Monkeys won't be able to save them. In fact, it's actually probably promoting some of the regen, to be honest. Okay, now, they do set up more and more Dart Monkeys, but it just becomes a little bit overwhelming, and the Dartling is the main source of pop power, in my opinion. Right here, they boost to the fact that there's ceramics. And right here, this should have been the perfect clue, saying, hey, send me camos. I can't see camos very well. But instead of that, they just, like, you know, not bother. Right here, they boost against the ceramics. And to be honest, I was actually anticipating them sending, like, anything, like, I don't know, a Moab with camo LEDs. Like, that would have been a perfect rush for this strategy, by the way. That's actually a pretty strong strategy, at least, because, I mean, it usually revolves around either Tack Mortar or a farm strategy with Cobras, but it's mostly just Tack Mortar Cobra. Okay, I gotten glue for my 4th, by the way, so if I really wanted to, I could have sold the Cobras and get a 3-0, or at least a 3-1 glue gunner and put it on strong, and glued the Moab rush that they could have sent, and then quickly Maelstrommed, and then from there, it's just hope and pray that they don't send camo. Okay, but I do also have Glue Storm too, as well, so it would have slowed down that, and I would have been able to, like, Signal Flare or something like that. But, yeah, they rage left after that, because it was the best of 3, and the Cobra strategy kind of cleaned them. Like, they wanted to use Cobra, but, I mean, once again, they get Cobra for their 4th. I don't know if that's just luck or a coincidence or whatever, but yeah. Anyways, let's gonna move on to our next opponent. Okay, so this is actually going to be our final match of the day, unfortunately. So this is Sub to Laser Beams. No thanks. So we both, he won in late game, and it's like, okay. And they seem pretty simple. And I was like, okay, well, I got some cheese for you. Here's Eco Choke. Because we're both going to go NFE. Like, this is the perfect map for NFE. Legitimately, the perfect map for NFE. Okay, they got an ace, which is a pretty good, also pretty good for this map, and I got an attack, which is also pretty good for this map. So we're actually equally pretty good for our tower choices. Okay, so right here, I forced the first lightning bolt. They set up their NG finally. Now, I knew that they were going to go NFE the moment that they placed down the NG. Okay, like it's really not that hard. And they never sold their farmer, so they lost a lot of eco by doing that. So from here, it's round 4, and I start sending pinks. And this actually hurts them quite a bit. And I kept sending until they had faster engineering. And they eventually get it. They first get 9-inch nails, which doesn't help them. They boost, and then they get faster engineering. And I'm like, congrats! Okay. So I force them to upgrade, and then they start sending pinks, and it's like, what's that gonna do? I've already had that upgrade, and yeah. So slowly but surely, these pinks do actually make some leeway, which is fine. I think I pretty much tanked these lives, to be honest. Yeah, I tanked them, and then I set up a second NG just so that way I can clean up. Okay, from here, I get a plantation. Okay. And I believe I set up my second farm. And from there, my opponent got salty because I was able to get a farm lead off of them because of the eco chokes and forcing upgrades. So they start sending space black balloons, thinking that's gonna do some damage. It doesn't. I mean, it does because it's round 7 AI mixed with the space eco. But with 2 NGs like this, it's pretty much fine. There's not a whole lot that can really be done. So I tried to send yellows, but I'm like not having the best time with getting money. So it was kind of a oops kind of moment. So they finally set up their second farm, and I try to set up and get ready for my balloon trap, or at least lead detection, because that's the thing with NFEs. Lead detection is actually pretty poor, and I think they realize that they also need lead detection, because from here I send a regen lead, and I believe I layer it with pinks. Come on. There we go. Yeah, I layer it with pinks. They sell all their farms, and then they finally get a balloon trap, but some of the balloons do leak, I believe. I say well done. They thumbs up. I don't know, maybe they were thinking I was going to get pissed, but I mean, come on. I mean, it's really obvious. And then they also put balloon trap in actually the most terrible spot, because they put it towards the end of the map, so there's no time for them to react. There's a shorter time to react if their balloon trap gets filled. So, and there's actually a secret to beating the balloon trap, is if you do this, send camo reds, and then layer it with zebras, the reds will fill up the trap, and then the zebras will leak through. But either way, they leak through, and then they fall flat. And they, like, just barely not even had enough time to react to it. Like, they just sat down their ninja, and they had 0 time to react. And then they got pissed. Like, I mean, that's not my fault that you got pissed when you really don't know how NFE works. And I say like I'm, you know, bragging or gloating or something, but I mean, there's sort of like this like pre-res or quit threshold when it comes to like at least knowing stuff like this. Like when it comes to NFE, like this opponent was actually a pretty decently ranked opponent too. Like it's not their first time, it's not their first match, okay? And for crying out loud, they're probably a YouTuber and they're probably going to see this video anyways and probably dislike it and say 1v1 me, you sweaty bot, or something like that. I don't know. But anyways, the weakness, and this is something that you'd see in a lot of other balloon tubers out there. If you send camo reds or camo pinks, something least expensive with camo, and then send the actual rush, okay, the balloons that go first will be those, and they'll fill up the trap, and then you send, like, say, camo leads, and then the camo leads will sneak through, and the camo leads can't be popped because They're leads, and they're camo. The only thing that can see it is the cleansing film that occasionally pops out, so some will sneak through. The trap by itself does not see camo, by the way. It has to have the cleansing film first, as you saw in this match. That's something key to note. The trap does not see camo, it's the cleansing film that makes it see camo. And that's how those balloons were able to sneak through. But anyways, that will do it for now, guys. I hope you all enjoyed. And yeah, I'll catch you all in the next one. Later.